Greetings, fellow makers, it's Bill here, and we are continuing work on the Dwarven sword that I've been doing all out of foam, covered in latex. This is on our live stream on Twitch. You guys are watching live. Some of you are watching this later on YouTube. You guys seem to enjoy the abbreviated versions I've been putting up. I'll keep doing that. This sword, so far, quick rundown, made of foam, reinforced with aluminum in the middle, so it's not super floppy. And then we sealed it using latex rubber with pigment in it. So we got a bronze. And then last time we did the gold on there. Some people wanted to know why I didn't just use acrylic paint. The latex bonds, it's latex mixed with the gold paint. And the latex bonds to the layers below it, making a really, really permanent finish. We wrapped some leather around the handle. It feels really nice, super legit. And now I'm just going to do some weathering, some painting on here and finish this guy all up. Oh, also before that I masked off the handle and sprayed all of this with a varnish, a nice flexible varnish finish. So it's sealed, and now we'll do some weathering. Okay, on to the weathering. To get started here, I'm doing a really basic weathering pass. I've got just some black and some burnt sienna there. They're just some acrylic paints. These are going to get mixed up a little bit, not too vigorously. Oops. Leave that there. I've got some water here if I need to wet everything down a touch. And then essentially I'm just going to go over all the deep, dark crevices of this sword and add a bunch of paint. And then use some paper towels to remove most of it. Just like so. Oops. Leaving as much as I can down in those crevices there. And making sure to clean off the highlights. As though I were cleaning this sword, but not really well. Like it got super dirty and did an okay but not great job at cleaning it. So this is a really basic. I'll do one really quick pass on this, see how I feel about it, and then possibly do a second pass. We'll see. You can always add more paint if you have to. But for the most part, this first pass is just going to be brush some paint on, wipe most of it away, rinse and repeat until the entire sword has a good wash of dark on it. And then we'll play it from ear from there. Play it by ear. And there we go. You can see just a little darker on this part right here. I may want to... I'm probably going to have to do a couple passes. We'll see. Alright, I'm moving along at a rapid clip here. I'm probably going to have to do a couple of passes of the paint on here because it's not covering really well. But it's working okay. I'm definitely going to do a couple passes, which is fine because I can go in and do different colors if I want to and mix it up a tiny bit and get some good contrast in there. There we go. Not great on this camera, but here's one side that's dirty and this is the clean side. So you can kind of see the difference there. But I'll let this dry and then I'll go back and I'll do this side and then I'll go back over this one, I think, again. Dirty it up a tiny bit more. I also got to get the pommel. Here's the pommel. We'll get that all weathered up. Here's the dirtier side of it. I just did that one. So again, I mean, this is really simple weathering. We're not going with anything too sophisticated here. I'm just coating everything with a whole bunch of acrylic paint. We got some brown and some black and some burnt sienna there. Trying to give it a whole bunch of variation. Getting it all, especially with these more intricate details on the pommel. I'm trying to make sure I get a lot of paint down in those cracks and crevices to really highlight the contrast between the different depths of the material. And we just cover the whole thing and we wipe it off. Very, very, very simple weathering scheme on today's project. There. Get this done. Get it covered. Then, now that it's all covered with dirty, gross looking paint, just take my wet paper towel here, damp it down a little bit, and just wipe it off. And you can see how it creates that nice dark contrast between both the bronze deeper parts and the higher gold parts. This gives it another sort of layer of contrast, like that. Very cool. And there we go. Wipe the bottom a little bit and got a nice dirty looking Pommel. Alright, so I've gone in, I added some, just carefully, I overdid this part a little bit, clearly. I just added some dark acrylic paint to the deep areas. Now to weather the highlights, I just have some 100 grit sandpaper, and I'm just scuffing the highlights on this leather to give it, again, just to give it a little bit of contrast. And then you can just kind of grip it, and as you use the leather too, it'll get more and more weathered and shiny the way that leather does, in a very legitimate way. In fact, if you just use this a lot with sweaty hands, it'll turn into what leather does. It'll look all nice and weathered over time. But if you wanna, this is a good way to get it there quickly. Just use some sandpaper like that, and we've got some nice contrast on the handle right there. So we did all the darkening, weathering on our sword here. Now we want to highlight the edges a little bit, like it's been scratched and beat up a bunch. So I've got some gold paint here and a really ratty brush, and I'm going to do some dry brushing. And a lot of times I hear people talk about dry brushing, but they just douse the surface with paint. Really, if you're dry brushing, as the name would recommend or suggest, the brush is almost completely dry. So I've got a paper towel here, and I've got my paint, and I put just a little bit of paint on the end of the brush. I dab most of it off, and then I just scratch the surface many times until it adds enough, and even on camera it's pretty subtle, but you're just adding a little bit, you're just stacking on top of previous layers to get just a little bit of paint on there. It's a gentle process. You don't want to just go smear, all done. That's not what dry brushing is all about. It's really about just adding a little bit, random sort of scratches and dings looking on the sword there. So even especially in this light, it's subtle enough that it's kind of hard to see. You can see here this hasn't been done, and this edge has. And as I move it through the light, you can see just a touch of that. I think this bevel right here, I think I'll go back over and hit that a little bit heavier, just to accent it a little bit. But the rest of it looks just scratches like they've been added one at a time over a long period of time. So that is that's dry brushing in a nutshell. And I'm going to keep doing it slowly and deliberately. Done some of this highlighting stuff, a little bit subtle. This bevel on the edge, though, I want that to be a little bit more contrasty. So I'm gonna go back over with more of this gold paint and really add a lot more to just that sort of bevel. I want that to be kind of highlighted. So this isn't dry brushing. This is absolutely me just painting a ton of paint on the edge there to offset it from the rest of it. So we got this bronze here, and then this nice bright gold on the edge there. Alright. And this will be, I think this will be the last little bit of weathering on this sword. And then we'll be all good. I need a little bit more paint. Really highlighting that edge. There we go. And this will do it. This will be the last bit of weathering on this sword, I think. There we go. Very cool. So that's nice, and it's got that edge on it there on both sides. And it's all, that should be just about do it. Ta-da! Nice and weathered. There is our Dwarven sword, all finished up. It's been really fun building this on the live stream, entirely on the live stream, with you guys at twitch.tv/punishedprops. If you aren't already, go head on over there and give us a follow. We do these every Tuesday in the shop, and we have our live Q&A on Thursdays. You definitely don't want to miss those. This sword in particular, I don't have any need for it. We're probably going to do a giveaway for this, so if you keep an eye on our Twitter and our Facebook page, And if you join our mailing list on our website, you'll get the notice on how we're going to do the giveaway on this. I haven't figured that all out yet, but don't worry, you won't miss it if you follow us on any one of those platforms. So thanks again for watching live while we put this thing together, and we'll see you on the next live stream. See you guys. Oh, and I forgot to point out that we named it. This is the Buddha Tooth for Buddha Cat. So the name of our Dwarven sword is the Buddha Tooth. Very good.